Okay, so like I said, we'll continue from the last class, and I want to make one small change to this contract. Uh, this deposit timestamp, we saved it as an unsigned integer, a state
Yes.
variable. So I want to make it in form of a mapping because every address that deposits, we have their own deposit timestamp, and that's what we'll use in tracking the interest rates. You understand?
Okay. Yeah.
So each address will have its own deposit timestamp. If we leave it like this, if we set if an address deposit and it has its own deposit timestamp, another one comes to deposit. Now it will override the former address deposit timestamp. I will not be able to keep track
Mm.
of previous address deposit. But if we do it in a mapping, it's gonna make much sense. So we can do something like this. So we map.
Your audio is breaking.
Is it clear now?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So we can map address to unsigned integer for this deposit timestamp. And also, we mentioned that we want to be freezing operations if there's any issue. So we'll do something like, let me take this mapping from here so that it stays with these other ones. So we can declare something like a state variable that changes from true to false each time we freeze and unfreeze. You get?
Mm.
So I'm going to declare a boolean and it's going to be public so people can check if um, post, let me call it post. mm, let me say it's post. Okay, and I'll set it to false
Mm.
because it's going to be open by default except there is an issue.
Mm.
You'll get
Mm.
operations will be open by default except there are issues. So these are some of the functions I'm going to be writing. So I've dealt with this and dealt with this. So we are going to do this modifier when not paused. So this modifier we are going to be adding it to critical operations that will love to
Mm.
freeze if there's an issue with the bank.
Mm.
You understand? So we might not add this when
Yeah.
not paused modifier to deposits function because if there's an issue, people of course people can still deposit
Yes.
to the bank. So we just want to freeze withdrawal so that they can't withdraw except we solve that. Probably there's a hack. So we want to freeze it until we solve
Yeah.
that hack issue. So I'm going to add a modifier that is called when not paused. Let me add it here. Modifier when not paused. You know,
Mm.
these are modifier that says only owner. It's just like saying that
Yeah.
if the address is the owner, that is when the code
Yes.
should run.
Okay.
You get. Then in this case, it's like saying
Yes.
if the operation is not paused, that is when the operation should
Mm.
run.
Um.
You get.
I understand.
Okay. So we are going to require that is paused. So when I say is paused, you can write it like this. So we require that the bank is not paused before any function
Yeah.
that we add this to can go through. So you can say is paused is equivalent to false. Is
Okay.
paused is a boolean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So must require that is paused is what? False. And when I mentioned that if you
Mm.
write it like this, the default value is what? True.
True.
So then when you put an exclamation behind it, is what? Is false.
False.
So I'm requiring that is false is what? Is false. Or else I'm going to throw this error. So I don't want to
Yeah.
write this like equals to false because most times when you go through Solidity libraries, this is the way they write it. Like this is the
Yeah.
professional way, so that you will get used to it. So I'm going to say that bank operations are currently paused
Mm.
temporarily. So this is the error I'm going to throw. You get. Then
Okay.
after doing this, you have to put this signs to, yeah. So that's the modifier. Then
Yeah.
also I want to, you know, this when not pause only checks if it's pause is what?
True or false.
If it is true or false. But by default here, I'm having it paused. The state variables is set to what? At the beginning. It sets to
False.
false. So it can't just be true if I don't do something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to write some functions here. That's a function that says set pause. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's going to take a boolean. So this is the argument that we pass into this function to set the state of the set that is pause. So I'm going to set pause. How will I write this argument inside now? What will I call it? Okay, let me just call it pause. You understand?
Yeah.
So I'm going to make this public. I will add another modifier soon.
Okay.
And I don't want to add Oleo now because I will create another modifier because we have other admins. So other admins can actually just pause operations if there's an issue. Since for now this is a simple bank, so we just do it that way. Just for us
Mm.
to get some concepts. So this is going to say this is going to set the variable. What's the variable? Is paused, right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's going to set the, so it's going, let me do something like if is paused, if it's not paused,
Yeah.
you get.
Yeah.
If it's not paused, then I will say I will assign is pause. I will assign it to what?
So true. So true.
To true. Mm, okay. Now let me see if this logic works. Let's not work with this logic since we are already passing an argument.
Okay.
Like in this case, probably we will not need this argument inside here. You get this if
Yeah.
logic now it checks the state of is post, if it is true or false. If it is post, if it is true, if it is false, it sets it to true, and if it is true, it sets it to false. Each time
False.
this set post, you get.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just do it like this. Let's just do it like this, like saying is pause, that is the variable, is equals to pause, which is the argument that's inside. We are setting the variable is paused to this argument inside here. You get? So if we
Yeah.
pass in through, it's going to set its pause to true. You get?
Yeah.
And we can always call, because this is pause is a getter function. I said variables like this are getter. You can also always check, especially if they are declared as public or external. You can always check their state. So you can always call it
Yes.
post from outside the contract to know if it is true or false. Then know what next to do.
Okay.
If it is set it to true, so you can use this. So then this modifier is going to check this condition before allowing transactions to be successful. You understand?
Okay.
So we've done,
Yeah.
okay, we've done add admin, remove admin, right? So let me do another modifier that says only admin. You get, because some operations, there's something I want to do. Okay, I'm going to add another modifier that says what? Only what? Admin, right? Something like this. So if I have a modifier that says only admin, and I use this modifier for some
Yeah.
functions, agree with me that the owner will not be able to access those functions, because those functions are meant for what?
Yes.
Only admin. So if I want the owner to also have that access to functions that only admin can do, what I can do is that in the constructor, I can I can say, I can say
Can't you use like
is
and statement?
and no, in the modifier.
Like only
No,
only
no, no,
admin
it
and
won't work. There's it.
oh,
Like this. No, sorry. Like this, right? Let me see. Let me see if it works. But I have not seen it. I didn't think of such. I'm not sure it will work. But you can try it. You
okay.
understand?
I'll try it.
So what I feel, the way it will be seeing it as um
One long string name.
it's just be seeing
Like
it's be seeing that, so it is what is defined inside here. It doesn't require statement
like
that
it just it
has.
as like one function name.
Yeah, exactly. So it is what is inside here that will do
Okay.
everything. So probably this is where you will want to put the and, or in this case you'll be doing or not and, because if you are doing and, it's
Okay.
going to check the two conditions. You get?
Yeah.
All right. So what we can do in the constructor, we can say is admin owner is, this mapping here, this is admin mapping that we have at the top.
Yeah.
So we can say it's admin and address. So the address is owner. This is already set owner to images or sender. So we can say
Okay.
it's admin is what is true. So that
Mm,
sets the owner.
true.
The owner becomes an admin too. So that
Okay.
any function will use this modifier, the owner will also have access. So the owner have the
Okay.
master key to every function. So here
Okay.
we'll require that the person calling any function we use this modifier for is an admin. So we'll require is admin,
Okay.
and we say the person calling the function is what? MSG dot sender, right?
Yeah.
So then we can say only admin can call this function.
Okay.
You understand? So
Yeah.
this line here, this particular one here, checks the person calling if the person is an admin. So this one, as it's written here, it shows that the admin is what is true. It's admin, the person calling is what is true. If it is not true, we revert this. Okay. Then so let me see. We still have some other many functions. So I will do this non-reentrant later because we are going to set another variable called locked. You understand?
Yeah.
So I'll do it when I'm done with all these ones. Then we've done set pause. Um, let's do calculate interest. I will still have to modify this deposit function. You get.
Yes.
So because what this deposit does, okay, I'll modify it later. So let's do something like calculate interest rates. Calculate, what's the name again? Calculate interest. So we write a function and we call it calculate interests. You get.
Yeah.
Then so this function we calculate, let's call it let's call it internal. So that it will not be able, you can't call it, people cannot call it from outside. So the reason why we are
Okay.
using doing this calculate interest, so that if people want to withdraw, we can calculate their
Yeah.
interest internally and add that interest to their balance as when they deposited. You get.
Yeah.
So okay. So to calculate the interest, we are going to do simple mathematics. So we'll
Yeah.
do something like this. We'll declare some variables. So we'll declare interest rate, which is an unsigned integer. We'll declare a variable called interest and also total debt. So we have interest. So let's call it. Okay, it won't be public, so it will not be anything. So then we have another variable called balance deposited that is the
Yeah.
the person's deposit. So that person's deposit now will be the mapping, this mapping here, balances of the address. You understand?
Yes.
So we'll call it balances of the address. Okay. So even if people will not be able to call this function,
Mm.
because they will use it, this function will be called by another function still inside this contract.
Yeah.
So, and that function that will use this function, that function is going to be an external function that people can actually call. So if people are calling that function is calling this one. It will still use their what?
Yeah.
MSJ dot sender.
Mm.
You understand? It's actually giving me some warnings. Can restrict to view. So because I have not changed anything yet. Okay. So in this deposit, I want to this when somebody deposit, I'm going to note the time they deposited.
Yeah.
So and that time we call it what? Deposit what?
Yeah.
Timestamp in this mapping. You get. So I'm going
Yeah.
to say the deposit timestamp of the address that deposited
Yeah.
will give me a particular time, which is how the time the person what deposited.
Deposited.
So I would say, yeah, I would say deposit after giving the person their balance in the previous line. Deposit timestamp. Uh, then I will do the person that's deposited is equals to what? The time they deposited. So that time they deposited is what? Block dot what?
Timestamp.
Timestamp. You understand?
Yes.
So calculating our interest. Mm, we're going to do something like this. So interest will be equals to what? So we can even do it like this. We can declare the variable here and delete this one. So the interest will be the deposit. Your simple interest. So we are using simple interest in this case.
Yeah.
So the capital principal PRT over 100. So that is
Is it the
the principal
deposit
is the
in this
deposit
case? Yeah.
times the rate is the interest rate, right?
Yeah.
Which we set here. So this interest rate will be changing based on whenever an admin sets a new interest rate here.
Mm.
You get. So we
Yes.
use interest rates, that variable, that global variable. Interest rates, PRT times time.
Yes.
The time is what? Is the deposit timestamp. You get?
Wait, is this supposed to be deposit timestamp?
Oh,
You
sorry.
know,
It won't be deposit timestamp.
mm, because normal interest rate is maybe 6 months, 1 month.
Okay, so that
Uh,
means we are going to thank you for that. We are going to set another on-site integer that says the time that has passed. You get like saying
yes. Time
elapsed time. So elapsed time will be the current time now
minus the deposit timestamp. That's the timestamp dot
minus the
block
deposit
dot
timestamp
timestamp.
that we set
Mm.
before. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
this one that we set here before. So it is this elapsed time that we will use. So the interest rate times the elapsed
Elapsed time.
time. Thank you for that. So um, I have to divide by 100 to get the interest. You get.
Yes.
So, and this function, let's just so like let's say this function returns an unsigned integer. So I want it to return the interest. Return interest, something like this. Does it work? Okay, I need to end the statement. Now it's telling me that I should restrict state mutability to view because it doesn't really change anything. Do you know why? It doesn't.
You've not yet called it into another function.
Is it?
Is it because you've not yet called it into the function you're supposed to work with?
No. What I'm saying is that it doesn't change the state of any variable yet. So the variables that we picked,
Okay.
yeah, we picked deposit timestamp. It did not change it. It only used it. It only
Okay.
viewed and used it to get another new variable, not a
Mm,
previous variable that we needed to change. Then
okay.
this one, it also uses this as the, it doesn't change the variable. So it creates a new variable called deposits and uses it views the balance of the person that called the function. And
Okay.
for this interest, it does the same thing. So it picks deposits. It doesn't really change any previous variable in our global variable that we set before. So
Mm.
let's call it a view function. You understand? Okay. So I want to add another function that says um, calculates withdrawable balance. So this function is going to be public
Yeah.
so that people can see how much they can actually withdraw.
Yeah.
That is the interest plus their previous deposits. You get.
Yes.
So
Are we not supposed to write one other function that will check, like, if the balance is not below a certain minimum, or if the person has, that's if the person has deposited and withdrawn immediately?
the person deposited and withdraw.
Interest, you will need the money to be in the account
Mm-hmm.
for maybe like 6 months or 3 months. So what if the person withdraws his money before that time?
Yes.
And
So
also
in a
on,
withdrawal function, where anytime somebody
okay,
withdraws, we reset deposit timestamp to 0.
okay, okay,
The interest will start to calculate again.
okay,
You understand? We'll reset
yeah,
the deposit timestamp, not to 0. I mean to the current block timestamp.
okay,
At the time the person withdraw, we'll reset that the deposit timestamp to that particular time. So it's just like saying we are resetting everything to 0.
okay,
The interest is starting from 0 again.
okay,
You get.
yeah.
Any other question?
Is there no way to check the balance? Like,
Balance.
if the balance is less than, like accounts we have minimum that you cannot withdraw below.
Okay. Okay.
Like
Yes.
they'll tell you
You
your
can
account
do.
cannot be less than this
That means you must have something in the
before.
account, right?
Yes, you
Except
must
you
have
want to
maybe
close
something in
the
the account.
account.
Or like in the
It's
case of
yes,
crypto, you must have
it's
maybe gas fee or a minimum like
it's
0.
possible. It's possible. It's possible. So it's just about the logic that you implement
Okay.
inside your withdrawal function. So that
Okay.
case, you must say that what the person will withdraw. Hmm?
Yeah.
So you can define it inside the withdrawal function. You define a variable called
Okay.
um, minimum
Maybe
balance.
withdrawable or minimum
No,
withdrawal.
like you declare a variable called minimum enforced balance. Like minimum enforced balance. That means that balance must be there. If I thought the person doesn't
Okay.
want to withdraw their money without
Yeah.
closing the account, that balance must be there. You get.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So then what the person will be able to withdraw, you see writing in the function. This will not be the amount.
Minus.
The is going to check. So if person wants to withdraw everything, it's going
Mm.
to be the balance, the current balance minus that minimum.
Yeah.
You get. So you can do something like if the amount the person wants to withdraw is equivalent to
Great.
the total balance
Okay.
in the person's account, you will not tell it that it should withdraw something like this. Let me just write something below here. So you can say that if amount is equivalent to the minimum, I mean
Mm. Yeah.
the total balance, then you can say, so you already declared a variable here called minimum enforced balance.
Mm.
You get. So you can say
Yes.
that total, you can say that withdrawable, like what the person can withdraw.
Okay.
Withdraw.
Yeah.
So if amount the person wants to withdraw is equal to total balance, you can say total balance, withdraw total balance
Mm.
minus minimum enforced balance. You get. So if the total balance
Okay.
is 1,000 and the minimum enforced balance is 100, so the
Okay.
person can only withdraw 900.
900. Yeah.
That is if amount is equals to what? You get.
Total balance. Yeah.
Mhm. You get. So you can just, it's all about logic. It depends on the logic that you set in your
Mm.
contract. It's possible.
Okay.
Mhm. So we'll write this function and call it public. Um, so this function will be a view function so that people can view how much they can actually withdraw. It will
Mm.
return an unsigned integer, and then we can now write the logic. Yeah. So what we also still do, we just do interest. We'll still declare a variable interest. You know why?
Yeah.
Calculate interest. You get.
Yeah.
So do you know why we still declare this variable? Mm, it's because functions cannot actually read
Okay.
variables.
Because it's not a global
Exactly, it's a
variable.
local variable,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So we
Okay. I
cannot
understand.
easily, so we have to define and then just call this internal function.
Mm.
You get and still save it. in interest. You get. I think for
Hmm.
here we don't really need this. Uh, we don't. Let me see. Let me continue. I will check it later. So, after doing this, we'll still get the deposits. That is deposits. We still have to write this one again. It's our local variables. Then so this function is going to return. No, let me just declare another variable that is called withdrawable balance. So withdrawable balance will give me deposits plus what? Interest. You understand? And then I will return withdrawable balance like this. You get?
Yes.
So when people call this function, it's going to return this. But I'm not too sure if it's going to return the interest since this function is using this internal function here. But we'll test that and see. But I wanted to delete this return thing. See this since we are not calling this function from the outside. I wanted to take away
Okay.
this view returns. Just make it internal. Let me see. Uh, it's a problem here. Okay, let me just leave it the way it is.
Are we not supposed to pass the interest this as a parameter into this place?
Into where? This
You
one.
know this line 68.
You mean into this calculate interest?
You know we are just calling the function and passing it into another interest variable now.
The reason why we
But
are
we are
not
in,
passing interest like
but
this.
we are interested in only that interest function in that other function, the interest variable in that other function.
Yes. The reason why we are not doing that because all through here we just use msg.sender.
Okay.
So it's actually fixed. So if we would have just probably used something like address inside here. But since it's the person that is calling it, we don't really need to pass in anything. Since we are using msg.sender. You get. So, and after doing this one, we can now write a function withdraw. We can write this function that is called withdraw. So this withdraw will take a variable called amount as an argument. So the amount, so the amount is an unsigned integer, and we'll make this function public. Let me see what is. Okay, we have to do withdraw. We'll make it public, and all this function will still have to clean up all this code later on. By the time we start to add all those modifiers and so on.
Yeah.
To determine who can call and who cannot call, or when it is paused, when it is not paused, something like that.
Okay.
So you just define the logic. first. Probably we'll end this coding in the next class because I'm not sure we can finish that within 1 hour. So this function withdraw is going to, we are going to require some things. So we are going to require that so um let me do something real quick. So let me define an unsigned integer here that says withdrawable balance. So this one will take this one here. Because it's public, I can use it anywhere. I can use it internally or externally. So I'm going to require that withdrawable balance is greater than amount, greater than amount, right? If not, I will throw, because I have factored in the interest rate inside this withdrawable balance now. Insufficient balance. You get?
Yeah.
Then I will also require that the amount is greater than 0. You get?
Yes.
So I would say amount withdrawn has to be tangible. Then what other things can I do? So what this withdrawal does is that I want you to get something. So in this when you come to deploy,
Yeah.
you have addresses here, right? They all have their balances.
Yeah.
And we did something here. Where is it? Balances, images, or sender. Right? These balances, the images of the sender is the address of the person calling the function.
Yes.
The balances, images, or sender is different from the balances you see here. The balances of this address is the balance that the address has inside the contract address. So it's different from what is inside the wallet. So we are going to do payable. So whenever you want to pay, you want to transfer like money, you can do payable. So the person calling this function, let me do it like this: msg.sender dot transfer what are we transferring? So this dot transfer is a method in Solidity.
Okay.
So I'm saying pay this man, pay to his wallet address, because the msg.sender grabs the wallet address, not the balance of the contract. So pay this wallet address and transfer the amount is specified inside here. Do you understand? So, but if I do it like this, let me see. So many typos. So if I do it like this,
Mm.
the contract will just pay the person's wallet address. It will not
And that amount is supposed to be entered by the person now.
inside this argument here.
Like input function in Python.
Mm-hmm.
That is when you have to type in the what I
Yes.
mean. This amount, it ought to be like a variable that takes in
So
an input function.
this function takes in this argument amount. Anybody that wants to withdraw using this function must specify how much he wants to withdraw.
Okay.
You get that is when we
Okay.
deploy now those buttons will appear.
Okay. That's what I mean. Like the person will have to type it on that button, the amount he
Yes,
wants to
yes, that's why
transfer
we
or
have this
withdraw. Yeah.
argument. Yeah, as amount.
Okay.
Then the amount that the person specify will now go through all these checks
Okay.
before they will. So if I write this payable like this contract will just pay the wallet address with this amount
Okay.
if these checks are correct. But it will not update the person's balance inside the contract.
Okay.
So there will be a bug in your code. So
Okay.
before I pay this person, I want to remove his money, whatever I removed from amount, using
Okay.
amount. So I'm going to say balances msg.sender minus equals to amount. You understand?
Yeah.
So um so we've done this withdraw. Then I want to do something like withdraw all. Withdraw all. So this function withdraw all is different from withdraw. In withdraw, the person specifies how much he wants to withdraw.
Yeah.
But
Withdraw or he wants to
this
empty that.
withdrawal is just like one button that you just click and all your balance inside the contract will be
Yeah.
sent to your
Yeah.
wallet. So it will not take in any arguments.
Mm.
You understand? So
Yeah.
I'll call it all this public. I'll still change them to external very soon. By the time I want to do cleanup,
Mm.
because external costs less gas. So I'm going to still calculate all these ones, the withdrawable balance. Then what I just do now is that I don't need to do all these required statements again
Mm.
because I'm withdrawing everything. You get.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do payable, person that calls the function, the address,
Mm.
dot transfer. So this time around I'm going to write withdrawable balance. You understand?
Yeah.
But before that, I want to deduct. So I'm going to do balances msg dot sender minus equals to withdrawable balance. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've written a function for that. So we have done withdraw and withdraw all. So once so I don't think we really need We really need this because since we already have this, because this one now we don't include the interest rate. Or should we add these functions?
Get my balance. You know, sometimes the person may want to check their balance.
Okay. So I want us to this. I will do this close account later. Let's do this transfer to get my balance. And let's see how many. Let me just let me do transfer to function transfer to. So what this transfer to does, in banking system we have transfers.
Yeah.
We have transfers. You can transfer from one account to another person's account. So what
Yeah.
this transfer to, what I want you to do is that is so that it can transfer you anybody that has an account with this bank can transfer
Mm.
from their address, that is from their balances inside the bank,
Yeah.
to another person's balance inside the bank. So the person must have an account with this person. Actually must have an account with this bank. In this case, you get. So
Okay,
we
like
have to,
intra bank transfer that is from the same bank
yeah, the same bank. Thank
customer
you.
to
That is
another customer of that same bank.
yeah, another
Okay.
customer of that same bank. That is for this case. That is if you want to send from one contract to another contract, it should be
Okay.
possible, but it should be possible, but in most cases, well, it should be possible. It can be implemented. It's all about the logic you put in there. All right. So this transfer to, I'm going to capture the address of the person I'm sending to. You get,
Mm. Yeah.
and I'm going to capture the amount. So I don't need to put any memory in all this because they
Mm.
they are easy values for Solidity to store. Not like string. If it's string,
Yeah.
so I'll make this function public, and then so what this does is that I'm going to require I'm going to do some requirement. I'll say that what balances, but it's not address this time I'm doing. No, this address is the address of the person
Yeah.
I'm sending to.
Yes.
So the balances of me, MSG does send that the person calling
The
the function
yeah.
must be greater than what?
The minimum or
Must be greater than or equal to the amount. I cannot send more than what is in my balance. So in this case, I'm
yeah.
not adding the interest rate from what I'm sending. So the interest rate is just somewhere calculating itself, but it's from the
Yeah.
balance I can see that I'm sending out to somebody else. Do you understand?
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So or else I will throw this error insufficient balance, right?
Yes.
Then um, I'm going to require that the amount I'm sending is greater than what? Zero. As I will say amount has to be tangible. Amount transferred has to be tangible, right? So all I will just do here, Okay. And lastly, I have to require that the address I'm sending to is not a zero address. That this address,
Okay.
ADDR, is not equals to
A born
a
address.
born address. Thank you. So, or else I'm going to throw this error. Address is a born address. Then I'm going to, so what I will just do, the amount I'm withdrawing, I'm going to subtract it from the balances of me.
Yeah.
So in this mapping, msg.sender, I'm going to subtract the amounts, and then I'm going to add the amount I subtracted to the
Mm.
balances of the address. You know, the person has an account with the bank.
Yeah.
Plus equals to amount. You get it?
Yes.
Okay. So it's just like we're just swapping, like we're taking the amount from this person's balance and adding it to the other
Adding
person.
it to the recipient.
Yes, exactly. So I think we'll stop here today. In our next class, so we finish up with these close accounts, get my balance, get total deposit. So this get total deposit will just reflect how much has been deposited in the contract address. This can also be seen from the blockchain, because if you scan the contract address on the blockchain, you will see the total. I will show you that in the next class, where we check the contract address of maybe a token or a smart contract. You will see the total balance in that contract address. So, do you have any questions so
No,
far?
not at,
Is that
no, no, no.
okay? Oh, you can see that the code is piling up, almost 100 lines now. All right. So I think we'll stop here.